Hello and welcome to the Dr. Grant Show. Today's show topic, 4 proven tactics to overcome fear. Let's go. Fear is often an acronym for false evidence appearing real. So what are 4 ways to overcome fear so that you can overcome the urge to binge, overeat, food addiction, food cravings? Let's talk about it. Let's define a strategy. First key is to identify the root of the problem, the root of the behavior. Second, identify the values. You see, values are what power our decisions and behavior. And until we officially get down to the bottom and identify what the value system is that's powering the belief system, no change that you try and that many people try to implement is ever truly going to stick for the long haul. Third, shift your belief. It's extremely important that once we identify the values, which are the powerhouse to our beliefs, now we can begin to work to shift that belief. And finally, fourth, restore energy. Did you know in quantum physics as well as studies on energy that there is a significant amount of energy expended and time spent to suppress, hold back negative emotion? So once we liberate ourselves from whatever the limiting belief was, whatever the limiting value was, we now must go through a process of restoring our energy that was previously lost and dragging us down and preventing us from actually being able to see our blind spots. So let's go a little bit deeper into this, shall we? Identify the root. There are ways that this can be done. You want to secure someone that is trained usually in neurolinguistic programming, as well as EFT, as well as hypnotherapy, because all of these things work in concert together. Once you're able to identify the root of the problem using very powerfully designed and engineered questions exclusively focused on you, your life, your experiences, then a plan can be created where we begin to identify roots of the behavior, for example. We begin to identify what's powering the behavior. And this is how you succeed in creating tactics that reflect you based on what you need to actually overcome your fear. You see, for many women and a few brave men that I talk to that want to overcome the urge to overeat, they want to overcome the urge to binge, they want to overcome the urge to give into emotional eating, it's often not a matter of counting calories. We can actually get you there without that. It's not about finding the ideal workout for you. I could get you there without that either, and burning yourself and running on a treadmill like crazy, unless you like a treadmill. The key are these things that I'm talking about, because these things that I'm sharing with you today are things that are powering the motor behind why it's so difficult to adopt that healthier behavior for the long haul and long term. I can't begin to express and begin to talk to you about how many women I speak to on a regular basis that often want to lose weight. They want to find a way to stop emotional eating, And when we dive deeper into these matters, it has nothing to do with them knowing about the healthier behavior at all. Most people that I talk to, they already know what they should be doing. The question is, why aren't they doing it? And this is where fear comes into play. And I see somebody's joined us live on Facebook feed. Hello, welcome. Feel free to type any questions that you happen to have in the chat. My intention is always to make this interactive, so that way you can get exactly what you need. Okay? And welcome. Welcome to the show. So, when we begin to identify the root and identify the values, we begin to identify what the train and what the motor is behind those beliefs. For example, I found a lot of the times I speak to women, it's not even about, oh, I need to eat more home cooked meals. In certain instances, it might be. But in other instances, it's the stress from the job. And then the stress from the job is stemming from something else that happened in their lives. For example, a fear of speaking up in the office, for example, was one situation that I encountered. Why doesn't the person speak up more? Well, it's because they have a fear of failure. Okay, let's backtrack that a little bit. Where does the fear of failure come from? We later find out when they were younger, they were instilled with the fear of failure because they perceived failure as being bad. So rather than speak up, and maybe this sounds like you, feel free to type in the chat if it does. But rather than fail at the job, it would be best, they thought, to stay silent. There's only one problem with that. When you stay silent, when you actually have an idea, two things are happening. First, you begin to have frustration and, dare I say, resentment at the job, at the person, the boss, coworkers, yourself. And that frustration begins to make you burn energy. When you begin to burn energy because of the frustration, this leads me into my second point. You find a way to comfort because your body loves you. So your body says and your mind says, let's comfort her. Let's work to offset the other part of the equation because right now, here she is, or he, not feeling happy. Let's find some way to comfort her and make her okay and increase the happiness factor. And then this is where it enters in the opportunity to emotionally eat. So if we get to the root of this, and hopefully this makes sense, wouldn't you agree that once we begin to identify what the root is and the fear of failure, and we begin to dismantle that and identify the values, we can begin to shift, which leads me to that third proven tactic. We can begin to shift the belief. And we can begin to do that by bolstering and moving a lot of things around mentally and help reprogram your mind. And there are several things that are available at your disposal in order to do this. You're not alone. You're not trapped. We can utilize things such as emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. We can use a very powerful sequence of questions in order to help you reframe and look at the situation in a way that maybe you've never looked at it before because originally you were looking at it through a blind spot. There are also other ways that can be done, which can include hypnotherapy, not to mention just good old experience and being empathic and tuned in and plugged in and tapped in to that person and what their goals are. And then outlining a plan to help shift that belief and not only shift it, but maintain that inertia and motion of that belief. It's no good if you have these revelations. Have you ever gone to a real great motivational speaker or listened to a fantastic motivational speaker and you said, oh my goodness, I'm changing my life. I'm going to change my behavior. I'm no longer going to be subject to that job. I'm no longer going to be trapped here, there. And then you get home and you're still feeling strong about it, but then 1 week later, you've lost your steam, you've lost your mojo, you've lost your momentum. This is what I mean about the importance of a shifting of the belief, and also creating a plan to maintain that momentum so that this is sustainable. What winds up happening when you take these approaches is, for those people that are looking for a solution and the missing piece to their puzzle regarding emotional eating, what winds up happening is something beautiful, because you're liberated and you're freed from the limiting thoughts, beliefs, as well as the blind spots that you had previously when you worked together with someone. And then you begin to uproot those values that were originally sometimes misplaced, placed on you by other people due to their limiting values and belief system. And then that's when the shift begins to happen, where you begin to realize that you are capable of so much more than you ever imagined. That is when your inner power is released and you begin to see in your entire world more opportunities instead of oppression, more potential instead of pushback and loss. Fourth proven tactic. Let's delve a little bit more into restoring your energy. You see, previously, working under the limiting and limited belief system, what was previously happening there was you're constantly struggling and wrestling, almost like the equivalent of a very large balloon that you're pushing underneath the surface. You ever see a pool tube? Back in the good old days when we were at the pool. Have you ever seen a pool tube or noodle and then try to push that pool tube or noodle underneath the surface of the water? It never stayed suspended under there for very long and submerged for very long. And this is what happens with the beliefs that you're struggling with, where you want to embrace that healthier behavior. You want to exercise more frequently or find some form of joyful movement that you can simply vaguely like, that you can do on a regular basis. You want to eat healthier. You want to cut out certain items out of your normal eating regimen, but you find yourself at home at night after everything's calmed down, you're finding yourself again elbow deep in that thing, that food that you said that you weren't going to eat again. So when you begin to liberate yourself of the limiting beliefs, the limiting values, and you begin to experience that shift and realize you were always good enough, there was never, ever anything wrong with you. This is when that pool noodle that you've been struggling so hard, and your mind and your body's been exerting so much energy and struggling so hard to overcome, it's released and it's able to float to the surface of the pool. And now the energy that your mind, your body, and your spirit has been spending, exerting, trying to struggle and wrestle and keep that submerged, is finally released. The stress and the wear and the pull of it, it's finally gone. And this is why your health goals naturally fall in lockstep, effortlessly, simply, almost without even thinking about it. And that's as a natural byproduct for those women that I speak to that wish to lose weight. As a natural byproduct, they embrace the habits that they need to embrace effortlessly, simply. And then the weight falls off without them even thinking about it. The healthier behaviors, they're now being pulled towards it as opposed to forcefully pushed. it all becomes so much easier and simpler. And isn't that what we want when we decide to embrace a healthier behavior? Wouldn't it be nice? Imagine how nice it would be for it to not be a struggle, for it to instead be something that you just wake up in the morning and before you even consider hitting that snooze button, you don't feel the urge to. Instead, when that alarm goes off, you're already visualizing how good it's going to feel during that joyful movement. You're already feeling how good it's going to feel when it's time for you to make that presentation in the office tomorrow, because you're freed of that grapple hook in your back of the limiting belief that you previously held. Because now you know that you are good enough. And previously, the operating system, the program that you were running with about not being good enough, that was instilled in you by hopefully well-meaning family, friends, loved ones that were encountered along your journey. But their estimation and summary and label that they placed on you, it was a label born out of their limits and the blinders that they had on. It wasn't an accurate assessment of you nor your capabilities. And that's when your energy every day begins to burst through. So you have energy to be more creative. You have more energy to get things done that are important to you. You have more energy to eat healthily or healthier. You have more energy to be that wife, friend, mother that you've always imagined being, or just a downright good old-fashioned fantastic human being. You have boundless, limitless energy, and it just keeps going. You feel more confident. You feel sensual. You feel alive, and you're released of any repressed anger that you once held over your inability to accomplish and achieve your goals. Imagine what that would feel like, not just for a short burst of time, but imagine what that would feel like every day. Once again, without any crazy diets, without any crazy workout plans that leave you wiped out and winded. And you're just effortlessly flowing into your true spirit of who and what you are. All right, everyone. You've been watching the Dr. Grant Show. The Dr. Grant Show has been created to help many women and a few brave men that struggle with symptoms of food addiction, such as overeating, binge eating, emotional eating, stress eating. And I created this show as a resource to many women and a few men that were looking for the missing piece to their puzzle after struggling for so long and not getting the results they always hoped for. And I did this because I lost my mother to food addiction and emotional eating and obesity. And this inspired me to create the first scientific study online that helped plus-size women in just 4 weeks overcome the urge to overeat and emotionally eat. And even though I wasn't even looking for it, but a beautiful, beautiful result was that these women, they lost weight. They lost as much as 20 pounds in those 4 weeks, all by using an innovative psychological approach to help them reprogram their minds. If you are looking for something like that, that's scientifically proven, but you want a white glove treatment, you desire someone that really has some skin in the game, you desire someone that has been there and done that. You desire someone that just gets you. Then I invite you to have a conversation. My name is Dr. Kirsten Grant. I can be found on edibleaddiction.com. I'm the president of Phoenix 6. Much love to you.